that is the issue of 28 trillion versus 25 trillion. I have said that. And I said, if you are listening to him clearly, that we had passed a budget of 28 trillion, and we have discovered location. That's what I said. Please, please. Can you listen to me? And I said, in between the 28 point something trillion and the 25 trillion, we have discovered that there is no nexus. There is no nexus. Nexus means there is no amount of money to a location.
Senator Abdul Ningi may have blown the lead on the pardon of the 2024 Appropriation Act by the Senate of the Federal Republic to achieve the purpose of putting more money in the pocket of individual senators, and as a consequence was suspended by his colleagues. But he is not the first lawmaker to suffer such fate for exposing the senators. The budgetary process in Nigeria has over the years suffered what is now most popular as pardon, which refers to the inflation of proposed budgetary provisions to accommodate the specific interest of the lawmakers. Usually, this runs into trillions of naira. The concept of budget pardon reared its head in 2016 when the Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Appropriations, Honorable Abdul Jibrin, was suspended for 1 year for raising the alarm over budget pardon. In the allegations against the leadership of the House, Honorable Jibrin asked Nigerians to ask the Speaker, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, why he was taking 25 million naira every month from the accounts of the National Assembly. Honorable Jibrin raised this allegation before the Department of State Services, DSS, while pleading with the agency to probe the Speaker. It was a damning revelation against Dogara, who he said had undermined the then President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption war by pardoning his first ever budget to the tune of 281 billion naira, taking over 9 billion naira to his Bauchi State constituency alone. At the defense of the 2016 budget proposal, projects worth about 480 billion naira were discovered to have been inserted into the appropriation bill. The then Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, while disowning the health budget details before the Parliament, said, "This was not what we submitted. We'll submit another one. We don't want anything foreign to creep into that budget. What we submitted is not there."
We still have the legislative window of conferencing with the Senate where we have differences.
Similarly, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Muhammad, repudiated the ministry's budget, saying, "No, that is not possible. That was definitely not what was proposed. This cannot be." Despite this public exposure of fraud, no one was punished despite several threats by the federal government and the Federal High Court order mandating the President to probe those responsible for inserting questionable projects. During the signing of the 2022 Appropriation Bill, President Muhammadu Buhari lamented that the provisions made for about 10,733 projects were reduced, while 6,576 new projects were introduced into the budget by the National Assembly. Buhari argued compellingly that the inclusion of the new provisions totaling 36.59 billion naira for National Assembly projects in the service-wide vote negates the principles of separation of powers and financial autonomy of the different arms of government. Buhari complained that the reduction in the provisions for many strategic capital projects in favor of empowerment project was uncalled for, since most of the inserted projects relate to matters that are basically the responsibilities of state and local governments. Despite lamenting that the cuts in the provisions for many projects would make them impossible to implement, Buhari still went ahead to sign the budget, vowing to send a supplementary budget proposal. Indeed, the reckless insertions made by legislators in the 2022 and previous years' budgets are appalling. The irresponsible habit largely explains why national budgets since the year 2000 have never been fully implemented, and why poverty is rising.
If we want to go into those issues, all of us are culpable. Some senators here, so-called senior senators, got 500 million each. I am a ranking senator, I didn't get. Did I go to the press? I didn't get. Most of you got.
After the discussion by the National Assembly, the budget are unimplementable. While assenting to the 2018 appropriation bill, Buhari had lamented the National Assembly made cuts amounting to 347 billion naira in the allocation to 4,700 projects submitted to them for consideration and introduced 6,403 projects of their own, amounting to 578 billion naira. In 2000, President Olusegun Obasanjo refused to sign the budget passed by the National Assembly, claiming it had been padded with about 2 billion naira added to the National Assembly budget line. The president at that time also identified 15 other areas which he said had not emanated from any MDA and had simply been inserted into the budget. He declined assent. In response, the National Assembly threatened to remove the president through impeachment. Obasanjo succumbed. Since then, the amount of pardon has grown exponentially. Late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua also experienced the same problem, making him refuse to sign the 2008 budget due to excessive pardon. However, he eventually reached the modus vivendi in which the pardon was reduced but not removed completely before he agreed to sign the budget. It is a new government and a fresh allegation coming from Senator Abdul Ningi, who is currently serving a 3-month suspension under the Senate leadership of Godswill Akpabio. The clarion call is now on Nigerians who must stand firmly to fight to overcome the treacherous habit of budget pardon, which adds no meaningful value to the development of communities and constituencies, but only tend to make a few senators.
And that is the issue of 28 trillion versus 25 trillion. I have said that. And I said, if you are listening to him clearly, that we had passed a budget of 28 trillion and we have discovered location. That's what I said. Please, please. Can you listen to me? And I said, in between the 28 point something trillion and the 25 trillion, we have discovered that there is no nexus